Thank you, Ashley. I greatly appreciate that. Today it's my pleasure to introduce a young man that's sitting at the table over here. His name is David Commanday. And Maestro Commanday is an artistic director and conductor of the Heartland Festival Orchestra, right now, in his 16th season. The HFO and Commanday have been recognized as Professional Orchestra and Conductor of the Year by the Illinois Council of Orchestras. Maestro Commanday is also the Director of Orchestra. Did I say that correctly? Okay, close enough. Thank you. I don't have to be perfect. I'm used to that. Activities and the instructor of cello at Eastern Illinois University. So just a little bit up the road here. Maestro Commanday's earlier posts included music director of the Boston Ballet, music director of the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra, music director of the Peoria Symphony Orchestra, associate conductor of the New Jersey Symphony Orchestra, and interim music director at the Carmel Symphony Orchestra in Indiana, all while he lived here, by the way, right? He has guest conducted orchestras and concerts across North America and Europe and in the Middle East and South Asia. A sought-after conductor for ballet, he has conducted for international stars, including Rudolf Nureyev, and a guest with preeminent ballet companies from coast to coast. He will conduct the premiere of Oklahoma City's ballet, new production, The Nutcracker, in 14 performances next month, right? It's coming up fast, so get in your cars and head down there. Should be fun to watch. Commanday graduated from Harvard University cum laude and with studies in psychology, music, and languages. He played principal cello at Tanglewood under the director of Leonard Bernstein. You ever hear of that guy? Yeah, that's right. C.J. Oswa and Aaron Copland, and their influence led him toward conducting. He trained at the University of Vienna, awarded the Austrian State Diploma in Orchestral Conducting with highest distinction. He has taught conducting, chamber music, and cello at Harvard University, Boston University, MIT, Longley School of Music, Tanglewood Music Center, Virginia Commonwealth University, Montclair State University, Eureka College, and Webster University in St. Louis. He has performed as cellist in a number of chamber music as a member of the Eastern Piano Trio and in collaboration with noteworthy visiting artists such as Yo-Yo Ma, Bobby McFerrin, Antonio Pompabaldi, Matt Pamjevitz, Jason Dio, Elena Iristot. Oh, I butchered that one. My apologies, Maestro. And I'm going to stop with Michael Brown because I can say that one. Please, good Rotary welcome for Maestro David Commanday.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you so much for welcoming me. It feels great to be here, be back here among friends. I can remember 2 or maybe 3 earlier visits with Rotary North, and I feel right at home. I'd also like to introduce our business manager of the Heartland Festival Orchestra, Ellen Day, here with me. So I got, as I was hearing about the schedule, I said, it's a lucky thing I deleted those 15 extra slides. I'm going to get the... You have plenty of time, Mike. Okay, so I'll do my best. So, Jeffrey, what's the advance?
That's a laser.
Okay. All right, I got a laser. All right, well, so Heartland Festival Orchestra. We were new in 2009. Thanks in many parts to Beth Kidder and her family, the Kidders and Kidder Music, a big part of our founding. We had a, should I use this? Maybe I should use this. So we had, it goes handheld? Yeah. So we had musicians and community members who felt that the founding of an orchestra that could be flexible in size and location and in style would be valuable for Central Illinois, and so we were founded. And we, as you see, we're now in our 16th season. These years have been about exploring how to be what we've been and how to keep it new inside of each concert. And innovation is at the heart of the Heartland Festival Orchestra. Let's see if I can get this, oh, wrong button. So when we were founded, this was the ticket chart, the seating chart for our debut concert. As you can see, there was no more room in the inn. We were sold out, and that's happened many times over our seasons. A lot of things about the HFO, even though we're about change, have remained constant. A lot of great players have been playing in the orchestra, many of them all 16 years. It's natural. Our musicians are all professionals, and this is not the only orchestra in which they play. Many of them play in the Peoria Symphony Orchestra, Illinois Symphony Orchestra. So they come together for each concert, more or less last minute, but they bring an expertise that really delivers. You can expect the unexpected. This is just a shot from one of our early concerts where I made a special guest appearance at the keyboard. Leroy Anderson's The Typewriter, I can tell you that is really rough to do. So if anybody invites you to be the soloist in that piece, plan to practice. It was really challenging, but a lot of fun. So we have elements on the concerts which go unannounced in advance, and that's part of the idea. Kind of a grab bag element. We've had some wonderful stars. One of the early shining stars was this shy dresser here. Doc was a lot of fun. Doc Severinsen. That was Doc Severinsen. This is Stefan Milenkovic, one of those rough names to express. He was based at U of I, but his international career spirited him away. So we were lucky that he could appear with us while he was still in the neighborhood. Carpathia Jenkins, an amazing musician. The first time she came to perform with us was in a show called Ella, about Ella Fitzgerald. An amazing presence on the stage and a spirit. We had her last season in a tribute to Aretha. And this season, we're going to miss her this season. I hope to bring her back in the future. Jason Vio, an amazing American classical guitarist who, like many classical musicians, brings a new element because not only can he play the classics, but he can also shred a little bit on arrangements of rock tunes and others. Plenty of joy in this man. And we've had some local stars like Preston Jackson, and one of our presentations included the Aaron Copland's piece about Abraham Lincoln, the Lincoln portrait, and Preston came, and I invited him to come and do the narration. And this gentleman is amazing. You probably know about his artistic gifts, but as a human being, he is an astonishing person. His humility. He's also a musician, of course. But he was very shy about this, and I am grateful for his gratitude. He's been a friend since we could do that together. We project live video, so that was part of the concept as well, the idea that you don't just see us on a single view, you can see inside of the orchestra with solo moments for the musicians, get up closer to the soloists, and sometimes see the other side of me. We had a wonderful Heartland portraits, and this is just one of the shots. We had photo choreography designed for us. It was a premiere of a piece based on photography of amateur and professional photographers from Central Illinois who submitted their works, and they were curated and put into a marvelous presentation. That was in our 10th season. We presented Classical Mystery Tour a couple of times, one of the great Beatles cover cover bands with the original charts for the orchestra from the original tunes. And as you already heard, and you're going to hear me say several times, the musicians, typical for us, we get together Friday night, single rehearsal then, an afternoon rehearsal on Saturday, and a concert Saturday evening. And we followed that schedule even with Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. So that only happens when you have musicians who come totally professional. They're ready for the concert at the first rehearsal, and the rehearsal is just about putting it together, not practicing it. So this is a very high level of expertise that they bring, and that's the heart of the Heartland Festival Orchestra. We had a premiere a couple of seasons ago called The Popcorn Hat, and this was a ballet that we commissioned, a new ballet, and also new music by Jeff Beal, who is the composer, for example, well, a lot of films and documentaries, and the TV series House of Cards. He wrote the music for that. So he wrote music for this ballet, and the Popcorn Hat comes from one of the Rutabaga stories of Carl Sandburg. So it's rooted actually in the Midwest. We do have fun. Cherish the Ladies have been with us a couple of times, and this just gives you an idea of the spontaneity that they bring to every performance. Joni Madden on the left there is a force of nature, and it was a pleasure to bring her in. Now, we have with every concert a community partner, which is a local charity, a local not-for-profit organization. And that's also part of the concept of the Heartland Festival Orchestra. We share proceeds from each concert with our community partner, and we also share the mission of that community partner with the audience. So in addition to our advanced marketing, which includes the community partner, a representative of the partner stands before the orchestra before the concert begins and says a few words about their mission. So this is a way of connecting our audiences with their mission, and in many cases their supporters with our mission. So it's been wonderful, and it symbolizes our connection with our community. So I'm not going to go too slowly on these slides, but we actually have nearly 75 of them, and it may not be easily legible from the back there, but season after season, we have had wonderful partnerships with the many of the amazing charitable organizations here in Central Illinois. It's astonishing the level of support, and of course, Peoria, your Rotary and all the Rotary clubs are exemplary in your charitable activities. Let's see, that's out of order. 12, 13, 14, 15, 12. Well, we'll get there. So, one of the realities is that all of the arts, and particularly the performing arts, have been challenged post-COVID. The challenge, all of us got out of the habit. Well, there's so many parallels in our lives. I mean, even shopping. Who goes to a shopping center anymore? It's far less common. And following COVID, and we managed with support and some creativity to have 3 or 4 concerts during the toughest COVID year. But people are not so much in the habit of going out, and the competition is very difficult. So we're challenged. It's important, though, to invent and reinvent oneself, and I think philosophically that works for all of us individuals as well. So last season, we went in some interesting new directions. We opened with a concert of music for video games. And I can tell you, this was an experience for me. I'm not a gamer myself, but I discovered that video games is an economic generator of a magnitude that exceeds sports and film combined. Yeah, you take it earns or generates more money than those combined, which is kind of amazing. And there's the other thing, obviously, there's great music that's written for them, and so we projected excerpts from these games, all PG excerpts from these games with the music live. And typical for the HFO, we collaborated. We had a chorus from Bradley and a chorus from ICC singing with us live, because a lot of these scores are truly operatic in scope, and this is just for a video game. Next came the silent opera, the original Phantom of the Opera. That's not Lon Chaney, but Lon Chaney was the Phantom in that film. That was a lot of fun. We followed up at St. Paul Baptist Church with the tribute to Aretha, and they really hit it out of the park. It was so exciting and fun. Capathia Jenkins and Ryan Shaw. In March, we presented a family concert, Peter and the Wolf and Carnival of the Animals. That was at ICC Performing Arts Center. And then we visited for the first time Venue Chiska down on Washington Street. And part of the reason was I wanted to present Beethoven in a setting that would help break down a lot of those expectations of formality. I consider it a huge challenge for the symphonic art that people come in, lots of people who haven't been, come in expecting that someone's going to be checking on their behavior, right? To make sure that they don't clap at the wrong time, that they sit still, that they remain absolutely silent. And of course, that's the antithesis of what anybody wants to spend $1 on and go out and spend their evening, right? You don't want to be sat down at a table. Don't you dare get up until you finish your play, right? So the spontaneity and the fun that we try to project from the stage is all part of what I consider is vital for the symphonic art, because this music has always been for people to experience. And so when we brought Beethoven's Fifth to Venue Chiska, as you can see, we called it surround sound. We had sound. We had audience not just in front, but there were audience members sitting among the orchestra and on the sides. And the interesting thing was that a lot of the musicians said, I loved this. It was amazing for me because I could actually look audience members in the eye and see them while I was playing. And for me, this was a revelation that supported my long-standing ambition that we remove the plate glass between what we do and our audience members, right? Psychologically, and in this case, physically, that became possible. This is just a shot from the audience in the middle of the concert. Yeah. Not bad. Did you like it? Yeah. I hope we really delivered on what I was just saying we did. A testament. Okay. So, and the amazing thing was that we came in, and this is this big warehouse space, the high ceilings, but it was square and it was going to be echoey, and we were apprehensive because you can never know until you really bring an entire orchestra into a space what it's going to sound like. And it was awesome, even for us players, right? It was just a lot of fun. And then we finished up that season with Red, White, and Rhapsody in Blue. It was the 100th anniversary of the piece by George Gershwin, Rhapsody in Blue, and our soloist was a revelation. Wellen Sanchez-Werner, that's a mouthful, but his performance was fantastic. And obviously there was a patriotic twist to that on Memorial Day weekend. And it was a great season. Some reactions. Now this is what's up. We've already had a couple of those dates. As you can see, we opened with a similar Beethoven experience. It was at 5 Points, Washington in September. Just now in November, we had another silent film. We had Charlie Chaplin, a couple of Charlie Chaplin films at ICC Performing Arts Center. But what's coming up next for the remainder of the season, you can find in the season brochures that are on the tables there. The next thing that is happening in January is a tribute to Tina Turner. This one's going to be at the Peoria Civic Center Ballroom. The full stage, full orchestra with 3 soloists. two women and a man, amazing nationally recognized singers and personalities, and it's going to be an experience. It's going to be wonderful. That's the 25th of January. March 1st, we're going to have something called the Sword and the Bow, and we're not talking about bow and arrows, we're talking about a violin bow. A man named Joseph Bologna, sometimes called the Black Mozart. He was born in Guadeloupe and grew up and was educated as a gentleman in Paris in the 18th century. And he became famous throughout Europe, not just as a composer and a violinist, but as a swordsman. So that's part of that story. So we have two actors, and one of them portrays the composer, and the other is a young girl of our modern age, and through time travel, they have an interaction. So this program is particularly well suited for young people to see and hear this great music. There's music by the Chevalier of Saint-Georges, which is what Boulogne was known as, but also some Mozart and Haydn, and even some rap music that's part of that concert. So that's a little drama in front of the orchestra in March. In April, that last date is out of date. I'll fix that. April 5th, we have a multimedia experience. We're collaborating with Big Picture and Doug and Eileen Loinig, who are going to have some photo choreography that'll be projected in that very beautiful spring-like program we have in mid-April. Or early April. And then the last date, it's actually May 4 now. I didn't get that corrected on this slide. It's going to be Sunday, May 4th. It won't be on Derby Day. And that's going to be very special collaboration with East Indian musicians on sitar and tablas. And we have music, it's going to be called from Bach in Bengal. And it's a collaboration, a fusion of traditional classical Indian music with Western music, with a string quartet and the sitar and tablas. That's not on the brochure, but that's the date, but it's the 4th. So that's our season, but we've set this up, this code that you can see at the bottom of the slide, and if you want, first of all, you're certainly welcome to keep my personal cards and take a brochure. If you want to remember that code, you can write it on the card, RCPN 15. The 15 is for the 15% discount you can get on any ticket that you purchase for the season, and that includes the Tina Turner tribute. And by the way, that one's ticketed. You can go to our website, and there are the links for that. Those tickets are sold through the Civic Center, but the other ones are through our own system. But the coupon code will work both for our system. So essentially, you go to purchase any of our tickets this season and use that code, and you'll have that discount. Ellen Day is setting that up in our mechanism today. So that's my presentation, and I love questions. Well, applause is welcome, but any and I don't know how I did on the schedule, but anyway, any questions are invited and most welcome.
Yeah. I know you can hear me, but. So you mentioned that the artists come in from all over. Do they have the pieces in advance, or they don't just receive them that Friday for the first time?
Oh, that's a great question. So the artists, and a lot of times we think of the artists as the guests, but I agree with you, our regular musicians are artists in themselves. In most cases, our deal with them is that we send out their music 2 weeks in advance, okay? So in these modern days, sometimes we're sending them electronic pictures of the music that they're going to play, and then they get it printed out on their stands when they arrive. Sometimes we're mailing it. And so they have a 2-week window to prepare.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm right here.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming again today. But I also want to let you know, you probably already know that the name of the group that a couple of us in here work for, ROE Adult Literacy, you have sponsored us at one of your concerts before. And thank you for that. And thank you for what you're doing for Rotary North. But also, I'm amazed at the ideas that you come up with, or is it a collaboration? It just amazes me how you can find all the different ideas for your concerts.
Well, thank you. It would be foolish. Anyone who takes sole responsibility for his inspiration is kind of a darn fool, right? And I hope not to be one. A lot of these ideas come from me, but I have incredible resources in my collaborators. Chief collaborator, for example, is my wife, Carla Commanday Miroslav, who's an amazing musician and person. We have a team among the staff and the board, and then from the musicians as well. And lots of times, there'd be an audience member that says, well, I just saw this, I saw that, what do you think? So I think the really important thing for inspiration is to be listening. And that's really true for conducting, by the way. Conducting is a lot, primarily about listening and hearing what's happening.
Kind of have a piggyback off of both of those. How far in advance do you have to plan those in order to get some of these big contributors into the area?
That's another great question. This season, there were a lot of things happening in the midst of the last season that delayed the process, and we felt really rushed creating this season. Typically, we try to have the pieces in place January, February the prior year. So we're in the process of trying to think through what we want for next season as well. Yeah, we have to do that. And in the case of Yo-Yo Ma, that's sort of like a 5-year project.
Again, thank you for being with us today. What do you look for in your orchestra members? It seems to me they're pretty important. And is there a commonality you're looking for, or what can you share with us?
Well, that's a great question, too. The musicians, especially when we were founded, musicians were first invited because there's a community of professionals who you can call it gigging, taking so-called casual engagement, which is just by the service. And by the way, a service is a chunk of time for a musician. Right? We rent musicians for 2.5 hours at a time. So a rehearsal is 2.5 hours, a concert's labeled as 2.5 hours, and so forth. So there's a community of professionals who know one another, and that was the beginning. And then there's a bit of a network of people who get along with one another, for one thing, and that bring a great attitude. To me, it's really important also to work with musicians in a spirit of collaboration rather than dictation, rather than control. And the cliche about a conductor is that they're highly directive and inspiring, inviting, and collaborating is at the heart of how I feel it's important to not just attract, but also keep musicians coming back. That's really important. It needs to feel natural and alive and spontaneous in the concert. And we've been fortunate over the years because many audience members say they're picking up on that when they're at our concerts.
The age group?
The age group, well, it varies. Michael Dicker, I started collaborating with him in the Peoria Symphony in 1999 and as principal bassoon. And he's been principal bassoon for the Heartland Festival Orchestra throughout. He actually said, David, I want to start playing some second bassoon because he's retired from his university thing. So lots of people have been with us throughout. And then we have youngsters who are straight out of college, actually.
Bob, are you looking for a job?
David, do we have anything coming, holiday programs or Christmas, New Year's, whatever?
Well, thank you. The holiday programming is out there. It's a pretty competitive time of year to get out in front of people. I know the PSO has a holiday offering, it seems to me, and there's always the family Christmas from the Peoria area choir, right? Am I neglecting somebody important to mention? I mean, they're good, but the HFO right now is not generating a holiday program.
Thanks again for being here. I just had a quick question. I know a bit of your background was shared earlier, but I'm wondering, when did you first know this is what you wanted to spend your life doing? And what has the journey been like from that moment to where you are today?
Well, thank you for that question. I guess I discovered I was on this particular path in my last year of college. I was a pretty good student. I got great grades, went to Harvard. I was serious and I was really interested in all those things. And I was a pre-med student. And funny story is, when I was a little kid, kids will talk about what they're going to be when they grow up. And I'm going to be a fireman. I'm going to be whatever. And I said, I'm going to be a brain surgeon. As a little guy, I'm going to be a brain surgeon. Later on, it occurred to me, well, I guess maybe I'm a non-invasive brain surgeon. Anyway, in my last year at college, I conducted an opera at the house where I lived at Harvard, and that was a great experience. And I was kind of weighing, and that experience and the collaborative nature of it, because I was playing cello all along, right? But the fact that it was greater than the individual. It was not just what I did, it was what I helped many people do. That was really inspiring for me, and that led me to apply to study conducting in Vienna. So, yeah, and what's it been like? It's been when I was saying, gee, I think this is my path, I said, yeah, I think it's going to be the most challenging thing maybe I could do. I was right. It's challenging, it's demanding. You don't finish a concert and say, yeah, I'm there. You think about, well, what could have been. I mean, even when it's really, really wonderful, and each time you come back, you're inspired and you're ambitious to do better than the last time. So, and I found that the art, the music, it's just a great generator of humility. For me, it's so challenging, and rewarding, of course.
So I believe what brought you to Peoria was the Peoria Symphony Orchestra. And I was curious how you made the decision to stay here in Central Illinois and to develop the Heartland Orchestra.
Well, as I mentioned, there was a group of musicians who knew me that were enthusiastic about the idea. I was trying to sort out what was going to happen next for me. And in fact, I was working out of state in the first couple of seasons when the Heartland Festival Orchestra was founded. But when supporters from the community and the musicians came together, it felt like a special opportunity to create a 21st century orchestra. There were things that I had always been interested in trying out. Among them is the video projection and so forth, and then the programming. And it felt a little bit like an important calling. And at the same time, you all, I don't know how many of you are only recently here in Peoria, but I'm guessing, most of you have a sense of what Peoria is, and in Central Illinois, it's a very special place. When I first came to the PSO, people said, why would a guy like you come here from Boston? And I had my flippant answer, which wasn't really flippant, but Duke Ellington said to his daughter, who was complaining to him from Australia and in her gig ballet dancing, Dad, I don't like it here. And he said, honey, home is where the work is. That's what Duke Ellington had to say to his daughter. And so I was very pleased to come here with the PSO. But the other thing that people would say is, well, I came here 3 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, because of my spouse's job. And I was in a big fat hurry to get out of here, and now I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And that's been our experience. We brought up our 3 kids here. Our youngest daughter was 3 months old when we came here. Now they're all grown up. One of them's a Marine in the Marines, going to be a judge advocate. Another is still working in Peoria from Denver at Simantel. And our youngest, our daughter is working at Simantel as a project planner. So I think it's a magnificent place to live.